Yes. Absolutely. Good evening. It is June 8th at 5:32. I'd like to call the Conservation Commission meeting to order.
Well, here comes someone.
Excellent.
Yeah, Robin. Great.
On the roll call, I can see Linda Andros. Present.
Present.
John Fusick. Present. Chris Shipper present. Susan Schweitzer and Ann Silvio are not able to attend this evening. And also present, Robin Bates Mason. Thank you. I don't know if anyone else is on the Zoom, but I suppose we can move right to the business.
Well, I thought Tiger said he was coming.
That's true. He did say he was going to do it.
Yeah, but I don't see
Doesn't
him.
show any. Or maybe you have to invite somebody, or is it?
Right, it can't hurt.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
there's Tiger Man. You can invite him. But I don't know whether he's here. I don't know whether that's just an meeting invitation.
Yeah, I think that's
It's just invitations.
Yeah.
And there's one participant, which is us.
which is us.
He has-
And he could don't.
He can dial
okay.
in.
Yeah, well, I could have view here. And put it on gallery and you'll see who available is here. So, thank you for attending today's Conservation Corner. Well, we got to meet a bunch of friends and some new make some new friends. Matter of business, would it be okay if we were to have a motion to approve the April and March meeting minutes?
So I think that last month I said that the New Canaan River testing was going to be 7,500 because it was 7,500 this year.
Yes,
So it's so that we can change that in the middle.
we'll correct that.
Okay.
I was not here for
Oh,
April, so I can't suggest that.
Oh, so we can't do it.
No, you can't. You too.
We can, you can make a change. And we can.
No, we can make the change, but we can't approve the minutes because it will only be two of us, right?
It would be two of us.
Yeah.
That's right. All right, so we'll hold off on approval. We'll make the change.
Okay.
And the March
We have a
meeting.
quorum.
We have a quorum.
We record for a meeting, but I think the rules are the Robert's rules that if you have to abstain because you weren't here, you can't approve it, then it's only two of us that can approve.
Got it.
I get you.
I'm not
Right, so,
about that, but
that's fine.
it's no big deal.
We can hold it.
Yeah.
Everyone can watch the video in case they need the minutes. I think it's the way to go forward. So then we'll hold for approval of the minutes until that point in time. And so I request one additional matter, which is under new business. I do want to hold a vote regarding disbursement of funds from the land acquisition fund in support of a land trust acquisition, but we'll come to that at point 7.
Okay.
So then if we can, let's start right on the agenda item with Robin. Thank you so much for coming again, and any updates or information that we can help with or want to share regarding Sustainable Connecticut certification.
Yeah, we're putting the equity action meetings together.
Yeah.
We do have a meeting. It looks like it's going to be set up. Center for Eco Technology got their grant from the state. I don't know if you recall, but there were some issues. They knew it was coming, but it wasn't official, so we had to cancel some meetings. So we're going to have a meeting. It's the end of June. We're meeting at the library, but it's going to be about food waste and also food rescue. And Linda, you're on that, right? You're on that. So Laura Budd is working on getting the chamber is working to get some of the restaurants to come. Rosie restaurant will be there because she is doing food scraps now on her own, as well as we're trying to get stewards to come because they're doing food scraps. So we've got that, and then the next thing up is we're good with the transfer station equity action. What we're trying to work on is the swap shop and just getting all the people to find a date that we can meet together and go over it. So there's some items for the swap shop that I'd like to hold off until we have that meeting, so we plan that meeting to do, otherwise that it's just plugging in the actions. And that's it, and I'm hoping August like 10th, it will be ready to go.
Got it. Is that the submission cycle for this next round?
Yeah, I mean, the submission cycle, if they throw it back and say it's not enough, which they've done before in the past, and say, oh, well, could you just do this different? Then if it's not that, then we would then resubmit, and I think it's December.
Okay.
So do
Right.
like that.
It's in this year's cycle
Yeah.
in a way. Got it. And is there anything the Conservation Commission can do to support what you're trying to do at this moment, or?
No, I think we're good. Like, I don't think we didn't really need any money. We tried to get the State Sustainable Connecticut Matching Fund for the Camp Hutchins Pollinator Garden. Jonathan Winter, who's executive director, put in the application on behalf of the Pollinator Pathway Group, the Camp Hutchins Pollinator Pathway Group. He hadn't heard back. I reached out to Joseph Dickerson, who is the person, and he's like, oh yeah, and then I reached out to me because we're kind of pre-approved, but and then it's gone radio silent. So
All right.
I'm gonna try to nudge. I don't know if they're having transitions there of people or what's going on there. So
And it's your sense that if there is a planting, it would be more in the fall. Than,
it's gonna be it would be in the fall anyway, because everyone's going away.
right. Well, we'd be delighted to have something to celebrate Cam's life at the Bristol Park, which she was part of. Anything else on that front?
No, I think that's it.
Great.
Swap
Okay.
shop. Yeah,
Thank you.
yep, all good.
Okay.
Just a matter of curiosity on the swap shop, is there a balance between supply and demand that you're seeing there?
So it's hard to say because we were there on Monday and did the cleanup kind of a sort. We did get rid of some items that have been for a long time. We do as we say, we give everything a chance. We were weighing items, but it was with a household scale. It was roughly 800 pounds a week was being safe, but this is with a house scale. It's really that scientific. We couldn't weigh any with furniture. It's hard because sometimes stuff doesn't make it out of people's cars sometimes.
Right.
Yeah, literally.
Oh, wow.
And literally some items
So
literally last 30 seconds. So it's usually.
what are the fast turners? Is it just very?
Oh, it's like can be anything. Like someone brought in, I was there Saturday, they brought in a tool bench, I guess for a miter saw or something, but then they had like belts on it and clamps and they went very quickly.
Right, okay.
So
it's hard to predict.
Yeah, toys, nice toys go quickly. We did have bikes. It's, something like, really? Oh, wow, that went, oh, cool. So it's all over the place. We're gonna have to go through what we accept and what we don't. We don't accept fabrics, but we had someone bring really nice rolls of fabric. And I was like, well, and then they were gone in 45 seconds. So I don't.
Right.
We're trying to see what he found.
You're in your first year, you're gonna learn.
Yeah.
It's retail, right?
Yeah. It is, it's retail.
It's very fun.
No, but we're trying we don't want knives that aren't in boxes or in their own containers.
Use knives would be problematic.
And we don't want alcohol. We had that problem.
Really?
Yes. So we turned it away right away. Like, no.
That's an interesting person.
I'm surprised you couldn't get someone else at the station to be.
I think there were people interested and that was our concern. So
Yeah.
we were like, I wasn't there for that one, but the person who was said, no, that doesn't come in here. We have nothing to do with that. So, yeah, but no, it's been.
We gotta get you a license for that before you start.
Yeah, no, we're good. We're good. We don't know if we need to put that on the do not bring or list, but it's good. We're keeping it 3 days a week, but we think that's a good balance. Friday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday.
And the volunteers are.
We've got great volunteers.
Yeah.
We don't want to push the transfer station staff too much with being there all the time because it is in the area where it is. They sometimes have the backhoes for the compost. So I think 3 days works, and we always have enough volunteers, so we're gonna keep it that way.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So, Robin, I keep asking you this, and I'm sorry. The science team, nutrients testing, there's no way that could be something to.
Sustainable TT.
No, you already sent that to me, and it's in the.
But that was, I sent it to you, but now they have another year.
You can send it again and we can try to get more points.
And and then now we're starting on another year, so.
Yeah, so we can try, so usually.
So should I resubmit it with additional years that they've been doing?
Yes, so just send me a small update and we'll try to add, we'll just say, so it's for more than 1 year. And then most of the projects go back at least 5 years, and some items can just be forever ongoing. The only thing that's within the year is if we have educational programs, has to be in the last 12 months. Everything else will have a much longer back date to it. And some things can just be that the town is consistently doing it's fine.
Okay, okay, good.
Thank you. A lot of good stuff right there. On Bristow, point A, the public-private partnership with the land trust, the document has been drafted. It has been given to the first selectman, the head of DPW, and the head of parks for review, and they're waiting for the review to come back. So I don't really have anything more to report other than it's in process. I know we have the remote wildlife cams in. I don't know whether we repositioned them or taken any data off of them lately.
I mean, there's advice here. So Chris, maybe tomorrow we could,
Yeah, tomorrow or Saturday.
or Saturday, I don't remember.
We can come take a look at where a good trail cam might be relocated. You should be aware that there are now 2 cameras already facing each entrance. So ingress and egress will be covered. Related to that, I did reach back out to Officer Coughlin, who said that she has concluded her investigation without any specific charges. There was outreach to certain groups, but nothing definitive came through that. On the other hand, there's been no other activity in the park. So
what do you mean outreach to certain groups?
she was given 4 or 5 leads. She contacted families, discussed things with them.
Okay,
but
so
did
it's
not-
families, not like the schools.
Right. And so it didn't go any further than that.
Okay.
And but at the same time, there have been no further incidents. So I believe it's something that came up. It's now been addressed. And I suspect that in 2 years, there'll be a new group coming up with some new ideas. Just that.
Kind of the best out here.
Right, in a way.
If it just goes away.
If it goes, that's exactly, and it gets addressed and be done.
Yeah.
The Cam Hutchins Pollinator Garden, we just discussed earlier about that project for the fall. I would say that Keith Simpson and Bill Pollock, who are managing the park, did request that it wasn't a kind of squared off kind of thing. It had a more natural flow to it. I'm sure you'll eventually come up with a design, and it would make sense to run it past them, not for anything, but they may have a comment or.
Right, and if we don't get this Sustainable Connecticut, maybe they finally realized we're in Canada and stop giving us money, but if that's the case, Plant McCain's gonna have a fundraiser in September, and that I'll bring it up to the board, we'll probably make that one of our causes.
And if that's the case, then the Friends of Bristol will also help.
Yeah, right.
It's easier, I think, for the Conservation Commission to do the matching through the sustainable.
It is, yeah.
But there may be an opportunity to help.
Yeah.
Okay, that's good. Open space. I want to thank you all for the nature and environment meetings that have been taking place at the library. At the last meeting, Sally, I can't remember her name, Sarah, what's Sarah's name? The planner.
Oh, yeah,
My bad.
yeah, my bad.
Anyway, Sarah attended the meeting and got the message from all of us about issues that we feel are important to be conducted in the plan of conservation development. And the good news is that yesterday evening, they chose a consulting firm to help them with the plan of conservation development. And one of the strong points of that firm was community outreach and being willing to sit down with groups to listen to the concerns and to try to address these concerns. So I would think that nature and environment is a great vehicle for people to be able to come together and put forward a series of ideas and things that could be incorporated into the plan of conservation development. So I think we're making progress at getting into it and being in early enough that we might be able to influence the document itself. Other issue on the land acquisition fund, the funding for the coming year hasn't been finalized yet, although we did address the Board of Finance and Board of Selectmen and the Town Council, all three groups, putting the idea of allocating a portion of the sales conveyance, real estate sales conveyance fee towards open space. And so that's where it stands, but I think the ask was 10 basis points of the 25. I'm not likely to bid against myself until they come back with a count. So I'm expecting them to come back and say, well, with this, how about this much or that much? The beauty of it is it would be consistent funding.
You presented to town council, you didn't get any feedback.
No, town council was, I think I presented early at the beginning of a 6-hour meeting and they were like, oh, we got to get through this and then all these other things. And I think it was a little bit of a intellectual heavier lift than we were ready for it that week.
Right, but Board of Finance did this.
Board of Finance took the issue up and discussed it. The Board of Finance felt like 5 years of effort and we managed to accumulate $150,000 dollars. It's basically pitiful in a town where an acre of land or a lot goes for $1 million plus. So progress there. Let's just say we've been persistent and consistent in making that message. Any other questions or points regarding open space that you wish to address?
No, nothing else.
Nothing else. Oh, last point is the firm they selected was very good at GIS and data manipulation. So I think we're going to get a 10-year advance in the quality of the graphics and the information that they draw. So we'll be able to help them. No change in the Conservation Commission budget. We will definitely make it a shift of funds towards the river testing up to 7.5. I think.
Okay.
On new business, I think I'll hold this. I thought Ann was going to come because she's got a lot of ideas about messaging, but I do want to add the point on new business and make a motion that the Board of Selectmen disperse $150,000 from the land acquisition fund in support of the land trust acquisition of 1124 Valley. I'd like to. I guess I can put the motion forward. If there's a second, we can then discuss it.
I second.
Second the motion. Discussion.
So what's the purchase price at this point?
So, the purchase price isn't published, but I can give you the round story. The house, to purchase the house and make the capital improvements that the house needs is a total of $750,000. The house is being purchased for less than that amount. The house is actually, well, I think I should disclose it then. The house is being, the negotiated purchase price for the house and 2 acres of land is $500,000. That's a bargain purchase because the appraised value of the house on 2 acres of land will be well in excess of that.
Yeah.
But you're buying an antique, and experience tells us that antiques require work. And in particular, there are certain things like an all-electric heating system that really are inefficient. There are things like there used to be a porch on the property with a wellhead that stood that should be restored. So there's a combination in that 750 of, I don't think I can call it historical restoration, but historical translation in a way where you're trying to put back features that were taken out in the course of time.
Why wouldn't it be restoration?
Well, I think one is we do have a pen and ink drawing of what the porch looked like, but we never had any kind of drawings of what the interior looked like.
Oh, because it no longer exists, but the
Yeah.
well that.
The well exists and the porch
The
exists,
porch would be
but the
rebuilding.
Yeah. The thinking or the initial thinking is to try to restore as historically accurate as possible the first three rooms, the front three public rooms of the house. That means not including the kitchen, but there's a big meeting rooms on one side, which was a big dining area.
Right.
Then there's the entryway, and then there's a small office over on the right. So restoration work to kind of either bring it back to paneled wood or sand it back to paneled wood, or add the right fixtures at time appropriate. And then another big element of it is that the chimney needs to be reworked. And so I happen to have some experience in that, and I know it's going to cost something in the region of $25,000 to $30,000 to make them refunctional and draft and draw and not be a fire hazard.
Yeah.
Not what about major items like the roof and the kitchen and?
Those are still, the kitchen is functional, but could be upgraded. In other words, and I think there's the Land Trust has developed a pretty extensive list of switching to more energy efficient LED lighting, to upgrading the appliance suite so that it's more energy efficient and operates more efficiently. Some of this equipment there's a Gen Air in there that I'm pretty sure is a 1970 edition kind of item.
Yeah.
The list is much longer of what they have. They're looking at, should we do certain types of window replacements for double pane? The big items that will be picked up and will be raised against are things like, should we convert it from electric heat to a geothermal system?
Yeah.
Which is
what kind of heating system they wanted to.
which is advantageous. And then there's also the opportunity, there's a little, as you know, there's this little barn shed in the back of the garage that could take solar. And then you could have a little bit of solar support for the project as well. And then down the line, and this was another discovery of the Land Trust, they found the foundation of an old barn.
Okay.
And the thought is at some point in time, somebody may say, I have a barn I don't need, would you like it? And then they can take it and reconstruct it. And there's even in the landmarks report a mention of the barn, which was cow barn. And that the fellow who left the property, dismantled it, moved it down to Brookside Road and built a house there. So there's the remains of the foundation. It even took probably some of the rocks as well.
Yeah.
So the Land Trust has some ambition, but it's also limited by its fundraising capacity, right? So you know you're going to do this all the time, but their overall program is a capital raise of almost double that amount. And the idea is buy it, fix it, and endow it, right? Always the challenge, and to do as much as you can up front when there's a news aspect of it, and then also work with 3-year commitments and things like that to finally build an endow. The reason I like the 150 request is because that's exactly what was negotiated for when we added an acre of land. And it was a $150,000 increase in price just to get that acre. So it kind of puts the town squarely on an open space land acquisition, not the house. And it's leverageable at 4 to 1, 5 to 1, well 14, when 750 cost. You're contributing 150 of the 750. So
and all those potential positives in addition to the current purchase and the near-term fixes is on the Land Trust, obviously.
It's all
They're not just getting back to the
no.
town or-
I think that the land acquisition fund was always established as a leverageable concept, and it was meant to be, a 1/4, 1/3, 1/5, never a complete, unless it was a fund, and then somebody said, well, we have 10 acres that we could add on to Burlington Park or something like that. It's a straight out park ad. But even then, if there was 10 acres, the fact that the town had a land acquisition fund would mean it would be eligible for state funding. to support it, so the state would match that or pay. Now, right now, the state is offering 70% of appraised value on open space purchase, but it has to meet their criteria.
Which this would not.
What?
Would this meet that?
This wouldn't necessarily meet those criteria. What will happen eventually is that the land trust, once it acquires the property, and gets it to where it thinks it's right, may agree to a preservation agreement, or if not necessary, may get it as a state registered historical site, and then all the work you do on it is eligible for a 30% rebate, which is in the form of a tax credit, but it gets bought and sold and you get the cash. So that's the experience I've encountered in doing my work. So it's a big ask. It does draw down the land acquisition fund, which will then be rebuilt. It has been signed off.
How has it been funded so far? Where's the money coming from?
Just 1 year, there was 1 year 50,000, and another year 100,000.
I see.
A couple of years just skipped.
I see, okay.
Which is to get a total replenishment for 150.
Well, we're gonna ask for that, and I think that's where they're gonna take a look at the year-end conveyance fees and say, well, why don't we put a portion of that, which was, the conveyance fees are not as projectable as the real estate. They're the receipts. It's volatile based on the market.
Yeah.
And so it's a perfect vehicle to say when things are slow, there's less that comes out, they're good, they're goes here. They may even come up with a different mechanism of a certain amount above this amount goes there. They may just make it a hurdle to say the first $1 million is us, the next $1 million goes, 25, 75 or something like that. We'll see.
That's a compelling.
And so
from their perspective,
you can go back and look at what was the minimum amount over time, and then therefore that you're guaranteeing your minimum and you're just sharing the upside. But I'm waiting for the Board of Finance to run a pencil on this and say, okay, here's where we want to go.
Gotcha.
So did we have a motion? Did you approve? Have we?
So
This is what we're going to do.
Oh,
So this is because the reason we had a discussion, a straw poll, but it's only on Monday that the land trust signed the purchase and sale agreement and the memorandum of understanding. So we have a firm deal. Okay. Now I can move forward with this right now.
Okay.
So the motion is to disperse $150,000 from the land acquisition fund in support of the land trust acquisition of 1.8 acres and a historic house on 1124 Valley Road. All in favor? Aye.
Yeah.
Thank you. The motion is passed. Congrats. It's the first time we've made a cycle in the land acquisition fund, and now we have to kind of make sure it builds up again. And it's targeted at opportunities that are important.
Fantastic.
First, I have a question, sorry. I sent you an email just with some what other towns do for their land acquisition fund, and there was one town that this may not be necessary, people can just donate to land trust, but that people who in the email, but I forget which town, but if they can get a tax letter when they donate to their town's land acquisition fund, even though it's a municipality. Is there?
You can get a tax letter from the town of New Canaan. It requires the board of the controller, the finance department, to authorize it.
Okay.
It is a legitimate gift. But there were a couple of things in that note. One was Fairfield says that at the end of the year, we have excess funds from our planning process. We will put a portion of them into other towns just do a regular appropriation and build up funds, but they do appropriations in the amount of, $250,000 or $500,000. They're not doing that, these little nibbles.
Right.
And I think that, you have to start these things a little bit slow, iterate, and then see if you can build on it. And I think we're at a point where we may be able to build on it. The other source of funding was payment in lieu of open space set aside. There's very little of that that's coming here. There are ways around it, in fact, and oftentimes, we know that the subdivision on Weed Street that allowed us to make the green link between Irwin and the nature center was of that set aside, that 10% set aside.
Right.
But I like the dual option. So there is the land trust, people could contribute that way, but you can envision a situation where someone says, I don't really like that guy in the land trust, right? You know, I'd rather give it to the town, and have the town potentially on the property versus the land trust, right? So it's, I like that.
It's there. In fact, it's not clear what happened, but there were something like 20 checks written to the town to initiate the land trust fund, and they have sort of lost accounting.
Yeah, there's something in Greenwich as well, where you can give money to a fund, but this is for affordable housing, to purchase
Right.
property for affordable housing.
Right.
But you can't donate anonymously,
No.
or and there's one other stipulation, but something we don't have in Canaan, but they haven't heard, but it's not, they haven't garnered a huge amount, so.
Yeah,
But yeah, no, but it is there, so.
as easy as possible, right?
Right. I think that that'll be one of the things that'll come out of the plan of conservation development. That also came out of the open space report from 3 years ago, which are here are the different mechanisms by which you can put funds in. A couple of towns are just very diligent about it, and they basically say, we want to pass something on to the grandchildren as well. You know, we got something, we want to pass something else on, which is the right way of thinking. I mean, we're lucky to have accumulated almost 400 acres now. So, and I thought about it on the ride over. You know, the land trust, there's no Parks and Rec department for the land trust. They maintain and take care of 400 acres, and people can walk on 150 of them. You know, we're at a point now where we're looking at a small playground in Waverly Park, and it's a $500,000 investment. There are, you know, there's real savings by having these open spaces that are accessible, and you know, and there's value in the aquifer replenishment. There's value in the clean air and the carbon sequestration. There's no pressure on our sewer or other system. It's important, and you know, everyone says, well, we have plenty of it, and I'm of a mind that that's a very luxurious position to take. I think we have still time to set aside more pieces of it. So that's beyond my little soapbox. So if there are no other items, I'd like to call the meeting.
Sorry, so I just got a text that reminded me. Clayton Camp and the library is hoping to co-sponsor with the Conservation Commission for a program coming up on a week from today with Alice Eagley. She's a master gardener composter.
Oh,
Yeah.
So with the Conservation.
Yes.
Commission.
It's already gone happy to support it.
we're catching up to that one.
I said, I'll bring it all, I'll mention at the meeting, but it's already.
Thank you for
It's a
bringing
wonderful.
that.
Actually,
We're delighted.
okay,
Delighted to be part of that. So
okay, that finishes up my 3 programs for the year. Okay.
Okay.
Actually, that sounds very,
So-
very, that actually sounds very.
That was a proof.
It caught my eye.
Proof of the sustainable Connecticut discussion. Okay, if that said, it's 6:05.
Great.
What would be motion to
Motion to adjourn the meeting?
all in favor? Approved. Thank you so much.
Great.
We've had a busy day today.
There you go.
Can I turn this off and just hit end? Thank you.
That should do it. And